Welcome into the Lakers Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Senior. I hope all of you are having a good week, gearing up for Thanksgiving. So in advance, happy Thanksgiving to all of you. We start off today by first looking at what Dwight Howard, in an article with GQ, said about some of these Ben Simmons trade rumors that continue to circulate. Of course, Ben Simmons and Dwight Howard played last year together in the city of Philadelphia, and coming up in a little while, we'll also get into some Lakers trade rumors as well, which I find very, very intriguing. But let's focus in on what Dwight Howard had to say about Ben Simmons. He kind of defended him as these Ben Simmons trade rumors and trade discussions are ongoing, and I actually don't think that Simmons would be an awful fit with the Los Angeles Lakers, which we'll also explore here coming up in just a few moments. But Dwight Howard on Ben Simmons, coming to his side, coming to his defense in that article on GQ by Tyler Tynes, who's a really good writer, formerly of The Ringer. Dwight said this, quote, "Ben has done the best job he can. I don't think the Philly fans have really treated him fairly throughout this whole situation based off what they heard in the media. They feel like he's obligated to them. But what if it was your son or daughter or one of your friends dealing with what Ben's been dealing with? How would you handle it, and how would you feel?" Now, of course, if Ben Simmons is actually dealing with some of those mental health struggles, my thoughts and prayers are with him, because so many people out there, including myself, have had to deal with those mental pitfalls, before. And Philadelphia, no question, is a tough place to play. But here's the deal with Ben Simmons. He has never taken ownership of his failures. He's never taken accountability for his flaws. He's never done anything to grow, expand, or improve on his offensive game or some of his offensive weaknesses, and he's never taken accountability for his inability to get better as a player. And how bad can it be when you're making more than $30 million per year and you're under contract for the next several years at that number, which will only continue to escalate in terms of the dollars over the next couple of years to come? And for Ben Simmons, you're looking at a player who's really flatlined offensively. Now, I have to say that Ben Simmons, in my opinion, is probably the best defender in the NBA because he can guard multiple positions at an elite level. And last year, I thought he should have been the Defensive Player of the Year over Rudy Gobert, because Gobert really just hovers around the paint where Simmons guards positions 1 through 5. But you take a look at Ben Simmons' offensive numbers and the comparison from his rookie year to last year in year 4, and he's really almost gotten worse as an offensive player. Go back and look at his Summer League highlights when he came out of LSU, was the number 1 pick. He was better then than he is now. Why is that? He was taking elbow jumpers, he was taking three-pointers, he was taking baseline jumpers, and that hasn't even happened for the last several years. And each offseason, we're talking about Ben Simmons improving his offensive game and maybe including a shot in his arsenal, and he never has. But his rookie year, he averaged almost 16 points per, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. He shot 54.5% from the floor and 56% from the free throw line. Points per game last year went down. Rebounds went down. Assists went down. The field goal percentage is basically the same. And while his free throw percentage did go up in the playoffs, especially in that second round series against the Atlanta Hawks, he was a disaster and only shot a little more than 30% from the free throw line, which is abysmal. Now, a lot of Laker fans have slid in my DMs. They've hit me up on a lot of our shows here at Chat Sports, and they've asked me, Chase, would you trade away Ben Simmons for Russell Westbrook, because their contracts are very similar, and Russell Westbrook can do some things offensively that Ben Simmons cannot, and maybe he'd be a better fit alongside Joel Embiid. You look at the numbers that Westbrook is putting up this year. The question and the issue with Russ has never been production. He puts up crazy digits, almost 20 points per game, 8.5 dimes, almost 9 assists per night. My problem with Russ is just the reckless style in which he plays with. It's the turnovers, it's the bad decisions, it's the bad passes and the bad shot selection. Most importantly, though, it's the efficiency with his shooting numbers, only 44%. Now, you might look at Russ and Ben Simmons and you're like, well, at least Russ isn't afraid or allergic when it comes to shooting the rock. Yes, that is true, but I don't know if his style translates to winning from the Lakers' point of view. I think Ben Simmons does play a winning style of basketball, and the things that he doesn't do well would be masked if he was on the Lakers, because he's not going to be asked to be an offensive juggernaut. I thought what Dave McMenamin said after the game against the New York Knicks was very, very telling, or at least this tweet came during that game against the Knicks, in which the Lakers almost able to put together that comeback effort after they were down about 25 points. But McMenamin said this: it's become pretty clear that when Russell Westbrook is good, the Lakers are good. And when he's bad, they are atrocious. That's a bad spot to be in, because if you're relying on Russell Westbrook to determine whether or not you're a good team or a bad team, that kind of tells me you're a pretty mediocre squad. And if you look at the Lakers' record right now, deep in the Western Conference standings, it all tells you what you need to know, that they are a mediocre team. So Laker Nation, I'm going to challenge you with this one. If you had to pick one among these two players, Ben Simmons or Russell Westbrook, two vastly different styles and two vastly different players, who would you go with? Type BS for Ben Simmons, RW for Russell Westbrook. Be sure to get your votes in right now in the comment section. Thanksgiving is tomorrow. The holiday season is here. And right now, thanks to our friends at Fanatics, the presenting sponsor for today's show, you can get this fresh Lakers hoodie 40% off only if you use that link at the bottom of your screen, chatsports.com/Lakers hoodie. Great material, dope look, really awesome logo. It fits really well. I have a couple of these hoodies in my closet right now, but I wasn't able to get them 40% off. Treat yourself, a friend, or a loved one this holiday season by hooking them up with a purple gold Lakers hoodie by going to chatsports.com/Lakers hoodie. Make sure you use that link and just plug it into your web browser. It'll take you right there so that Fanatics knows that Chat Sports sent you. Lakers trade rumors next up on today's show, and I'm excited to explore this because I think this trade idea thrown out there by NBA Analysis could really help the Los Angeles Lakers. So here's the blog boy trade idea from NBA Analysis. The Lakers would receive Kenrich Williams, formerly of TCU, a little bit of a journeyman the first couple of years of his NBA career, played with the New Orleans Pelicans, now with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Thunder would get back DeAndre Jordan and 2 second-round picks, 2023 and 2024, that the Lakers were able to acquire in some trades. I think this helps fill some needs for Los Angeles. First of all, DeAndre Jordan has not been good this year. I don't even care if he's out of the rotation, to be honest with you. And what Kenrich Williams would be able to bring you, a shooter with some size, floor spacing, most importantly, a pretty solid defender who can guard around the three-point arc, and the Lakers' perimeter defense has been awful this year, giving up way too many open looks from deep. Kenrich Williams' career stats since getting into the league out of TCU: 6 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, but this is what you have to focus in on. This guy isn't going to be a starter. He's only going to be a role player, and if you're giving up a role player in DeAndre Jordan for another role player who could help you more in Kenrich Williams, that's why I kind of like it. 53% career field goal percentage and 44% from distance, and this year his numbers very, very similar to that. 8 points per game, 4 rebounds, and the field goal percentage and three-point percentage numbers right in stride with what he's been able to do throughout his career. And I understand that OKC is bad, but you see a decent sample size here. He's getting 21.5 minutes per night, and I like the size that Williams does possess. 6'6", 210 pounds, a modern-day 3-and-D guy, a guy who you can have under contract with an affordable contract. He shoots, he defends, and those are areas that the Lakers could really use right now. And I think without that, that's why this Lakers team has struggled to really find any footing in the Western Conference playoff picture. So who do you think would win this trade? This is my last question for the audience before we get on out of here. I'm excited for Thanksgiving, just like you guys are. Type LAL for the Lakers, type OKC for the Thunder. I think the Lakers would be the overwhelming winners in this trade. I think DeAndre Jordan might be a buyout candidate if he did go to OKC, but let me know your thoughts on this down below.